So here we are on Easter Sunday, 2018. We made it here. Yay! So this month, now that we've begun the new month, this month now what we're going to be focusing on for Centers for Spiritual Living Worldwide is this idea of where humanity and divinity meet. And so that's also what we're going to be focusing on here at Riverside Community Center for Spiritual Living as it applies, especially to our beloved center here. And so that is going to be the focus and the theme for the month. And the way I'm looking at this, the way I'm approaching this, is looking at the different faith traditions that Ernest Holmes studied when he was synthesizing what we call science of mind or religious science, synthesizing this faith and bringing all these ideas as one. Because what he did is he studied all the world's major religions and found a common thread through all of them, and that is how we've come to be here in this place at Center for Spiritual Living and be here in this place studying what we call the science of mind, studying what we also refer to as religious science. Those are other terms for it. And so on this day, we have the opportunity to look at a few traditions. The very first one is, if we're looking at it being Easter Sunday, then we get to go back to the indigenous traditions, we get to go back to what's also referred to as the pagan traditions, or the earth-based traditions. Easter Sunday, people wonder, how in the world did they figure out when Easter's going to be, right? And it's just this random date on the calendar. You ready? All right, here we go. We'll be tested later. Easter falls on the first Sunday after the first full moon after the vernal equinox. First Sunday after the first full moon after the vernal equinox. The vernal equinox is usually the 20th or the 21st. That's when the day and night are equidistant, right? They're equal length of time, and so it has to fall then. So that's how Easter happens. Okay, so when you think about what the date that it's going to fall on, what are we looking at? We're looking at earth-based tradition. We're looking at the movement of the sun and the movement of the moon. And that's how we arrive at this date in time. And the very name Easter comes from Ostara, or Oester, who was the goddess of fertility and rebirth and renewal on the European continent. And so that's how we get the name Easter. It comes from the goddess. Okay. Amen. Hallelujah. Praise God. Praise God. All right, let's go. So Easter itself comes from the goddess. It comes from the divine feminine about rebirth. And that's where we get the bunnies and we get the chickies and we get all the eggs, because those are symbols of fertility, of rebirth, of new birth, of new life. And then we also get, in this time frame, yesterday began the Jewish Passover. And the Jewish Passover is the liberation of the Jewish people from Egypt. It's a high celebration of their liberation, of their freedom, of leaving Egypt, of leaving slavery, of leaving bondage. And so what happened then is there were 10 plagues, and the last plague was that of the firstborn of all the Egyptian families was killed. And the way that the Jewish people were able to escape that was they put a little bit of lamb's blood above the door so that the Spirit would pass over those houses. And so what that is, and what our Jewish friends are celebrating, is their liberation and their freedom. New birth, liberation, freedom. Sound familiar? So then we come to Jesus the Christ. The Christ. Jesus the Christ. It's not last name. Jesus Christ. It's not last name. It's a title. is anointed. Jesus the anointed. Jesus the Messiah. Messiah and Christ. Both words that mean anointed. Messiah from Hebrew, Christ, Christos from the Greek. So it means the anointed. So we come to this man's life. He was the great way shower. So people often ask us, well, is religious science a science mind? Is Centers for Spiritual Living, are you a Christian? Or are you something else? And the answer is yes. Depends on how you're defining Christian. If you're defining Christian as we take Jesus Christ as our Lord and Savior, as the only way to heaven, as the only way, then the answer is no. We are not Christian. We do recognize Jesus the Christ as a master teacher, as a way shower. We recognize what he taught to be spiritual truth and spiritual principle. Because what did he teach? His was a message of love. And love is all that there is. There is only love. Even when people have unskilled behavior, Lord knows that unskilled behavior, even when people have unskilled behavior, the essence of who they are, the truth of who they are is love. Nobody is born into this life as anything other than love. If you've ever looked into an infant's eyes, you know the pure presence of love, the pure presence of God. You look at these beloveds sitting right here and over here, and you can see the presence of love, the presence of God in each one of them. Because that is the truth of who they are. And that is the truth of who everyone in this room is. That is the truth of everyone in Riverside. That is the truth of everyone on the planet, despite unskilled behavior. And it is in the face of that unskilled behavior that we hear the master teacher's words, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. And we don't come from a place of being on high, like, ooh, forgive them, but, right? It's not a place of blame and shame, but it's a recognizing that these beloveds have fallen asleep, or yet they have not yet even awakened, begun to awaken to their spiritual magnificence. And that's who we as Centers for Spiritual Living are. That's who we as Riverside Community Center for Spiritual Living is. We are a place, we are a teaching, we are a faith and a philosophy that invites these beloveds, invites everyone to awaken humanity to its spiritual magnificence. This is who we are. This is what we have come here to be. This is what we've come here to do. This is our work in the world. The message of Jesus is love. The message of the resurrection, of the crucifixion and the resurrection, is that we are called to die daily to those old ideas, those old habits, those old beliefs that we talked about last month, that we were working with last month as well, to die daily to those old beliefs, to die daily to those old systems, those old habits, and those limiting beliefs, so that we may be born anew and born afresh. So that we may slough off that human consciousness, that human, limited human idea of life and death. That we may rise up in the Christ consciousness that lives within each one of us. That we may rise up in love. That we may rise up in truth. And not only in it, but as it. And then we walk a new life as the presence of love, as the presence of the Christ risen, as the presence of the divine. That's who we're called to be. And so when we think of it like that, then heck yes, we're Christian. We're Christian. If we are living love, if we are living spiritual truth and moral principle, then yes, the answer to that question is yes, we are Christian. Isn't that great? And guess what? We're Buddhists and Hindu and Muslims as well. We're all all of the above. But it is that presence of love that Jesus so talked about. And that's really what we get, or what we receive from the Christian tradition and our faith tradition, is the discussion of love. And it was love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, all thy mind, and all thy spirit. Right? That's the first great commandment that Jesus gave us. And the second one was love your neighbor as yourself. Right? And then he also spoke and said that if you cannot love your brother whom you have seen, you cannot love God whom you have not. Because where does humanity and divinity meet? Right here, right in front of you, right in the public square. Because humanity and divinity are already unified within you. That is the truth of who you are. You are the divine. You are the Son. You are the begotten Son of the only Father. Hear that again. You are the begotten Son of the only Father. It's not the Son of the only begotten Son of the Father. That's not what the original Aramaic said. It is, you are the begotten Son of the only Father. Father meaning God. Father meaning love. Father meaning Spirit. That is the truth of who you are. So you are the divine made manifest already. And so if you cannot love your brother whom you have seen, as Joel Goldsmith says, if you can't love your brother whom you have seen, you are a liar. I love it. Every time I listen to the tape, he goes, you are a liar. If you can't love your brother whom you have seen and say that you love God, you are a liar. Yeah, every time I say it. So the message here is love, right? We talk about it every Sunday. Love lives here. That's who we are. Love lives in this place. And this man, Jesus, this is not the white-looking Jesus, but there he is. The Borgia family, there you go. The Italian Borgia family, that's that image that we can have a tendency to see. Jesus was a holy disruptor. And that's something else that we can learn from him on this day and from his life. Jesus was a holy disruptor, and here's what we mean by holy disruptor. See if you hear yourself in this, or anyone else. A holy disruptor is a person who breaks apart norms in service of the sacred. A holy disruptor is a person who breaks apart norms in service to the sacred. A person consciously devoted to breaking apart the sleepy state of humanity. A person in service of bringing forward and realizing the glorious nature of the universe. Jesus didn't just go, right? He got in there last Sunday, Palm Sunday, entered Jerusalem. Did he go around going, namaste? Namaste? No! He turned the tables. He flipped the tables of the money changers. He called out the Pharisees. He called out the scribes. What he was doing was calling these people who had fallen asleep, calling them to the higher consciousness, calling them and trying to awaken them to a greater consciousness, a greater understanding of love, a greater understanding of the Spirit, a greater understanding of the truth of who they truly are. He didn't just sit back. He went right to the temple square and said, we can destroy this temple in 3 days, I will rebuild it. That is a holy disruptor. That is taking spiritual action. It's not just praying. He said faith without works is dead. Ernest Holmes says it a different way. treat and move your feet. That we don't just get to go sit in our quiet little meditation space on our Zen cushion and treat. Treating is another word for pray. That we do get to pray, and then we get to take action upon it. This week we also celebrate, well, not celebrate. This week we also remember the 50th anniversary of the assassination of Dr. Martin Luther King, this Wednesday, April 4th, 1968. This beloved man who walked the earth as the presence of love was also a holy disruptor. He was bringing forth the message of love and standing in the presence and the power of and as love and speaking truth to power. Calling this country higher. Reminding us of who we truly are and asking us to step up into it. And so in 1957, on April 27, 1957, as I realized that what this week is, that this whole week is a week of liberation, a week of freedom, and that is what we as Centers for Spiritual Living are as well, that we are a philosophy of transformation, of liberation, and of freedom. So as I was looking at this, I searched for Dr. King in relation to Easter. And on April 27th, 1957, he spoke at Dexter Avenue Baptist Church. And his title was Questions That Easter Answers. And he gave a whole sermon on it. I don't have time to give you the whole sermon that he gave. But I do invite you to go and look for it online. It is amazing and it's powerful. But one of the things that he said is that he was talking about Good Friday being that time of darkness, that time of dying to the old, that time of suffering, that time of struggle as Jesus was on the cross. And he said, and it's a good thing because the story doesn't end there, and that's a good thing. Easter is coming. Easter is coming. The resurrection, the life, the rebirth, the renewal is coming. If we can but stand and be with Good Friday. Recognize that Good Friday is absolutely necessary. That we must die to the old. That we may be reborn to the new. And that love is the most durable power in the universe. These are all teachings that we hear and that we teach here at Centers for Spiritual Living. And you know who else was a holy disruptor? Breathe. Ernest Holmes. This movement, New Thought, Science of Mind, Religious Science, is a wholly disruptive movement. What do we ask of you? What do we share with you? What do we teach? We teach that you get to take 100% responsibility for your life. And in taking 100% responsibility for your life, you are empowered. That the presence of God lives, moves, breathes, and has its being in, through, and as you. And you as it. Think about that. Do you hear that outside these walls? Do you hear that in the churches that you grew up in? That you are the divine made manifest. That you are the Christ risen. Not some random white dude that's been resurrected from the dead. Right? You are the living Christ. You are the living being. You are the living Spirit. That's what we teach here. That's holy disruption right there. But I want to get back to Ernest Holmes for a minute. In the early 1940s and 1950s, there existed the Institute of Religious Science in Los Angeles. Ernest Holmes regularly stepped out the front doors there and ministered to the alcoholics on the street, the homeless on the street. He took his teaching out into the street and practiced what he was teaching. Actively ministered. He took action. Social action. Based in spiritual principle. And in the early 1950s, when the Science of Mind magazine got a new editor, and up to this point, the way the Science of Mind churches, the religious science churches, were listed in the back of the magazine had always been in alphabetical order, or had always been in numerical order, depending, right? So you would see First Church of Religious Science, Los Angeles, Second Church of Religious Science, Los Angeles, Third Church of Religious Science, Los Angeles, Fourth Church of Religious Science, Los Angeles, for example. So they got a new editor. What did the editor do? He changed how it was listed. First, second, fourth. Down, 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 down. And then at the very bottom, Third Church of Religious Science, colored. Ernest Holmes was not having it. He called up that editor. The very next issue, that was corrected. First, second, third, fourth, no designation. And that Sunday, he went to Third Church. And he was present with the congregation of Third Church, letting them know that here he stood, being present in this community, because he did not designate out white churches and colored churches. This is back in early 1950s. That is social action. That is social justice. Because, as Cornel West said, justice is what love looks like in public. That is Ernest Holmes. And so here at this center, we have the opportunity, we have a new ministry that is wanting to be birthed here, that is still in its embryonic form. And it was presented, the idea that was presented last Sunday. And this is an idea of creative arts. Because creative arts, specifically drama, has a way of speaking truth to power that other ways don't. And so this idea here is to be able to share with a larger audience what it is that we teach here at the Centers for Spiritual Living. Grounded in spiritual principle, grounded in spiritual truth. That we believe in a world that works for everyone in all of creation. That we believe in awakening humanity to its spiritual magnificence. That we know that love lives here. That we know that each one is the power and presence of God. Each one is divine. And what this opportunity is there are some shows that we are looking at, that we are considering as a possibility, that address contemporary issues. Because if you are not practicing this in your daily life, you are not applying this in your daily life, what are you doing? We're just listening. Remember, we take 100% responsibility for our lives and for the world around us. That's who we are. And so there are some shows, or there are some topics that are absolutely current to today's society. And part of what we are going to do with those, or what we're looking at, is presenting the issue and allowing the play to happen, allowing the drama to happen, presenting the issue. And then when the play is done, we have a conversation about how science of mind, how the principles that we teach, how what it is that we are about here applies, livingly applies to what is going on in today's society. We are speaking truth to power. We are doing a contemporary application of our own teachings as it applies to this particular situation or that particular situation or this social issue. It's not about being political. It's about standing up and speaking truth to power. Amen. Remember, it's not the voices of our enemies that we will remember, it is the silence of our friends. Martin Luther King. So this is an opportunity for us as a spiritual community to expand beyond these walls, to be relevant. It's an opportunity for not just our community, but for our entire Centers for Spiritual Living movement. Because there's a hesitancy in the movement to stand up, to speak out, to take action in the public square. And yet this is who we're called to be, and this is what we are called to do. I'm going to leave it there. Because Spirit's like, oh, you can say this. I'm like, no. Not today. Not today. And it's not about making anybody wrong. It is about calling us all higher. It is about dying to the anger, dying to the separation, dying to the ideas of less than, dying to all of that, dying to what brought us to this point, dying to it, and stepping up and stepping out in love, rising up in love, calling each other higher. This is our purpose, this is our goal, this is our intention, this is our mission. To be the presence of love, always and in all ways. Because as the thing says, I am the place where God shows up. Yes. Say it with me. I am the place where God shows up. Again. I am the place where God shows up. There's a fabulous Eddie Watkins song, and I'm going to have somebody in this room do it at some point. By the name of that song, by the same name. So, beloveds, what it is that we teach, what it is that we share, is the message of love. It is honoring and recognizing the divine within each one of us. That is what we are about. And we have the opportunity to call each other higher, to call the consciousness on the planet higher. We take 100% responsibility for ourselves, and we take 100% responsibility for everything that is going on this planet. And it starts right there where each of us is. The divine of each one of us showing up, showing out as the presence of love and divine that each one of us is. So are you ready to set down your cross? You ready to set down that cross that you've been bearing, the old ideas that you've been carrying, the old belief systems, the false belief systems? Are you ready to set it down? Yes. Are you ready to rise up? Yes. Beautiful. So I invite Allison to come and join me here. And we're going to symbolically give you the opportunity to lay down the burden, lay down the cross, lay down the suffering, lay down the victimhood. and step into the power of who you truly are. Step into the Christ consciousness. Step into that presence of love. And so what we're going to do here this morning, as I mentioned a minute ago, or a little while ago, that Christ, or Messiah, means anointed. So if you are ready to step up into your new life, into your life of the divine, then we invite you to form two lines down the center aisle here, and Allison and I will anoint you with some scented olive oil here as a symbol of the risen Christ as you. And so I invite our beloved practitioner out. As we join together in consciousness, for where two or more are gathered in my name, I am in the midst of thee. And this I that I am is the I am that was before Abraham was. It is the great I am. It is I am. I am that I am. The name given to Moses, the burning bush. This I am is God. It is the all, the entirety, the everything, the Alpha and the Omega. And it is oneness, it is wholeness, it is perfection. For truly there is only one. God is, I am. And I know that I am that I am. That the who of who I am, standing here and seated here, present here, is the living Christ, is the living God. For God moves, lives, breathes, and has its being into and as me and into and as all of creation. Because in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. And that which God did not create was never ever created. So I know that all of life, all of creation, is the body of God, is the manifestation of the God, is the divine emanation and impartation of the one living God. And so it is with that divine authority that I speak this word here and now, recognizing that love is all there is. That the power and the presence of love is the only durable power in the universe. That it is love that proceeds the way, that goes forth and makes the crooked places straight. It is love that is the promise of Easter fulfilled. It is love that gives us strength through the ideas or the thoughts of our own personal Good Fridays. For it is love that carries us, guides us, directs us. It is love that maintains and sustains its creation. And I am it, and it is me. And so right where I am, the place upon which I stand is holy ground. Recognizing my divinity, I let go of all those ideas. I die daily to the limitation. And I am reborn anew, a new life, a new birth in every moment. It simply begins with a thought of release and allow. For it is not I, but the Father within that does the work before me. The Spirit within that does the work. I simply get out of the way and allow the Christ consciousness within me, the divine within me, to live its life. I remember who and whose I am. I am that I am. I give thanks for this awareness. I give thanks for this beloved center. I give thanks for our world work. I give thanks for the sacred yes that each one has said. I give thanks for the risen Christ that is present here today. I release this word knowing that it is done. And so it is.